What would you do if you had a next-door neighbor from hell? Today's story is about terrible neighbors who were caught stealing electricity and get exactly what's coming to them. But before we get started, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to our channel. Our revenge story for today comes from a woman we will call Jane. For most of her childhood, the house next to Jane's was left abandoned and decrepit. This was until she was around 12 or 13, when someone bought the land and built a manufactured home where the old condemned house once stood. Soon, a kind and gentle old man moved in who generally liked to keep to himself. The neighborhood remained safe and quiet for a while. That is, until the old man's daughter moved in with him and proceeded to turn the once peaceful neighborhood into a madhouse. She would constantly fight with her spouse, keeping not only Jane's family up at night but the whole neighborhood as well. Worse than that, however, were the kids. No one really knew how many kids were living in the house, as there were so many different children and adults entering and leaving the house at all hours of the day. But that didn't stop Jane and her siblings from trying their best to befriend the new kids next door. However, eventually Jane and her siblings became their babysitters more than their friends, with each sibling ending up with a group of 3 to 4-year-old kids to watch over. The kids would just walk into their house uninvited, while Jane and her siblings weren't paying attention. They stole toys and games from the siblings' rooms and would either take it back to their house or go throw it in a nearby river behind the houses. The kids also stole food from the house, especially from a fruit basket that Jane's mom set out for her children. Her mother wouldn't kick them out over the food, never one to deny food to a child in need, but she did bring up their behavior to the parents after she got called a bitch by a 3-year-old. The parents refused to take any responsibility or even apologized. Instead, they told the mother not to parent her children, and if they don't want their property to get stolen, then they shouldn't just leave it out and let the children take it. Jane unfortunately got the worst treatment from the kids. Jane was a tomboy, and because of that, the children would tug on her long hair and call her a boy in a wig, because girls can't play with skateboards, or girls can't play with ninja action figures. One of the kids even went so far as to steal and break Jane's skateboard, saying that she shouldn't even have been able to use one anyways. The neighbors also decided because Jane's house was nicer than theirs that they could secretly run an electrical line between the houses. While this is bad in and of itself, having 2 families on the same electrical bill caused it to skyrocket and triple in price. Jane's family was below the poverty line and took great care to minimize their power usage and keep their bill as low as possible. Once they saw the now $800 electric bill, the parents freaked out knowing they wouldn't be able to afford it. After realizing that no one in the house was to blame for the incredibly high bill, they called someone from the electric company. A worker from the electric company came down and discovered the cable between the 2 houses. He unplugged the line and warned the neighbors about the legal consequences of stealing someone's electricity, but the message didn't really sink in. The neighbors continued to try and siphon off power, often running a cable between the houses in the cover of night, but Jane and her family always noticed and unplugged the cable. Whenever they did unplug it, the neighbors would throw tantrums and cuss them out, and often would even send their children over to destroy things in Jane's home. It eventually got so bad that Jane's mom banned them from her property, threatening to call the cops and press charges if she saw them near the house. Mad over the electricity, the neighbors stepped their cruelty up a level and decided to steal Jane's dog from their yard and pretend that the dog had attacked their children. Jane's dog unfortunately liked to take its tags off, so once the neighbors nabbed the dog, it was easy to convince others it was a stray that had attacked them, and the dog ended up being sent to the pound. The children assumed that the dog was at their grandmother's house down the street, and it wasn't until they talked to their parents that they realized it was missing. After 2 days of searching with no luck, they checked the pound and thankfully were able to reunite with their dog and take it home. After talking to the people who worked at the pound, their parents were able to deduce what had happened and how their precious and peaceful dog had ended up there. Jane's mom finally decided that enough was enough. Once getting home, the mom sent Jane's brother to go play at the neighbor's house, but he was really going undercover. The brother was given the task of finding any evidence in the house that could be suspicious. He found out that the whole house was cramped and dirty. 3 kids were forced to share a twin bed, and that the old man who actually owned the house was hardly ever home because he couldn't stand his daughter, but he didn't want to evict her and leave his grandchildren homeless. Generally, the children were being neglected. Hearing all of this, Jane's mom called Child Protective Services on the family. After a month, all of the children had been removed from the home, except one that was being cared for by the old man. With her children no longer a distraction, the old man's daughter began to focus her anger on him, berating him and fighting him. Despite it only having been 3 to 4 weeks since his daughter had originally moved in with him, the old man had enough of her antics and the problems she caused not only to him, but to others as well, leading him to kick her out. Now the only people left in the house anymore were the old man and the grandson he was fostering and raising. Since the awful parents and their kids are now gone, Jane said that the old man and his son are both kind and amazing neighbors, and the neighborhood was able to return to its old, quiet, and peaceful state. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please leave a like and subscribe to see our next story. Bye!